responsibility to do these 4 things? You know, is this really in the mandate of being a hacker? As much as the playing with the technology, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. And here comes the comic guy.
Exactly. I think it's the most interesting thing. I mean, obviously everybody's idea of interesting is different, but I mean, God, all this stuff is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, why wouldn't you want to just jump right in and get into that big, huge mess and cause some trouble? Hack the system. Embrace it and go out and beat at people. You know, that's for the next topic. I'm not going to jump ahead. You want to? We're segueing. I'll tell gun owners they have to be good people. He's pointing out that doing all this stuff is not altruism necessarily. It's good for us too. It's good for you individually. If you go out and work on any one of these issues or any other issue you can think of, odds are if it's good for other people, it's going to be good for you too. Do you want?
No, it's not on the next slide. Thanks, so.
That's kind of not really covered. Because, like, for example, you're talking about, like, Estonia.
You have a microphone, Hackajara. Use it. Use the microphone.
Oh.
Okay, okay.
So you're talking about, like, Estonia. Like, we had that, like, flare-up, right? And then it came out, like, what, 2-3 weeks ago that it was one guy that, like, caused all this havoc and everything like that. And a conversation I had in private yesterday with Johnny was, well, it turned out that this guy, to him, he said, you know, like, how can we use hacking for the greater good? He was really passionate about a statue, and, you know, to us, a statue is a statue unless it has some, you know, sentimental meaning, and it had a lot to him, and by merely moving it from one part of the city to another, he was just so enraged that he decided to take down the entire Estonia federal electronic government, and that was a big crutch. But to him, like to the rest of us, we're like, you know what, this is ridiculous, you shouldn't be doing this, but to him, that was his greater good, so is he really at fault? I mean, how do you answer that question? Yes. Well, okay, so it's black and white for you, but I mean, if somebody came and said, you know what, from now on, you know, all American flags will be flown at a quarterstaff, and that's it. I mean, how you would revolt? You'd put them at full staff. You know, you'd get bigger flags. You know, you would start like wrapping yourself in them and running around town because that's what you're passionate about. That's your symbol of your freedom. So to him, that statue was his symbol of his freedom. So was he really in the wrong? I mean, I'm being devil's advocate. I'm not like saying that what he did was right. Nope. But I'm trying to propose that.
All right. Sir.
Was a Russian communist invader statue. It was not Estonian freedom. It was for Russian occupation before.
You cannot look at the actual content of what it was because we look at our American flag as freedom, and
you have a microphone.
We look at our American flag as freedom. But other people look at our American flag as a war flag that we fly over other countries to attack them. So from their perspective, we're in the wrong for loving our flag so much.
That's going to get dangerous here real quick in D.C. And we only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to derail this conversation before it derails us.
Can I take 20 seconds of that? I know, he's the moderator. He's the moderator. I just want to say that one of the things that drew me to the community was the way that we work together. You know, the way that, and not everyone's like this, but what drew me to the community was that I could go into an IRC channel and I could get help if I wasn't an asshat. And that's inspirational, even though it's a small thing, but it's a glimpse of what we can do for greater goods, whether that's a large thing or a small thing. So I just wanted to mention that.
No, and I appreciate that. I think to the one point earlier, I think that specific instantiations of, be it the statue and Estonia or pedophilia or whatever, I think by and large you can look at something like this and say we could help have oversight over the government, prevent these things from happening, create better technology so that they can't take it down even when they try, et cetera, et cetera. And again, all I'm trying to do with this panel, and sorry for taking it off the rails here for a second, but is to get everyone to start thinking about what is it that I can do or we can do as a group in order to actually make a difference with what's important to us. And if what's important to you is the American flag or a communist statue or whatever, you know, or porn, yeah, let's just take it down to a base level, porn. You know, what? Dan who? No. First, I can't see Dan. Secondly, this guy was in front of him first, and he's pretty adamant. So, sir in the front.
So what we bring is that we make people value what they wouldn't if we weren't here. Security, privacy, all those things that we have now are because we're here. When we push that envelope, when you look at banking could have been so much worse if FDIC didn't step up and say, we're going to make laws that say that you have to protect people's information, keep it safe, make sure that the numbers add up. I mean, where would our banking be today if we didn't have any of that? People would be throwing money around and not keeping track of anything. And now hospitals are finally stepping up doing the same thing. HIPAA came out. Hospitals didn't react at all. They finally came out and did an assessment down in Georgia, wherever, and hospitals are starting to react. And I mean, I do numbers vulnerability assessments. I go into hospitals and I can tell you that the majority of them is gone.
I think, I don't know how many of you heard all of that, but I think that's actually a really great point, and I don't know that I've thought of it this way, but making people care about things they had no idea existed, but really affect their lives, and I think that's actually something that hackers can be play a really important role in. Like I mentioned earlier, the Sony rootkit, and I'm sure there's 1,000 more, and he just mentioned some, but you know, making people aware that there are big, huge problems that can really fuck up their lives, and they just have no idea that it's even out there. And so maybe even just taking on that as your greater good, as educating people. I mean, I don't know if there's a site like this. Maybe there is, and I'm just not aware of it. But for instance, in the sciences, there's a website that a number of biologists run called the Pandas Thumb, which is sort of a group blog, and it's there as a response to people trying to promote creationism. So it's a huge, wonderfully detailed FAQ that you can just point someone to and say, go look here, go to Pandas Thumb. That question, that argument has been addressed. And it might be interesting for some people to take that on as a kind of, you know, a hacker peer-reviewed resource that you can point people and say, look, these are problems that you're probably not even aware of, or these are issues, or this is what hackers do. These are good things that hackers are doing. I mean, if some people got together and put that, you know, up, I think you could get a lot of benefit for a little bit of work out of it.
I want to jump in here on that, just specifically addressing this slide and just kind of the mood of the room right now, because there are a few people that seem kind of they got their ire has been raised over we brought up issues purposely, I have at least, brought up issues that would be hot buttons where there'd be people yelling on both sides. All right, now here's the thing. The way you feel about that stuff, some of you are thinking, yeah, they're up there talking about this stuff. I feel good that we're doing something as a community. Don't let that feeling go away when you leave the room, okay? That is the #1 problem, I think, with all of this, is that everyone gets in here and they're saying, yeah, we're kick-ass. We can do all kinds of cool shit. Yeah, we can. Keep that feeling going when you leave here. And you don't have to do a lot, okay? I know some of you are thinking, oh, geez, I got to run an entire website and manage all this stuff. No, we try to form we do the open source way, right? We're just going to open source all this stuff. We try to do it that way. Just keep that in mind as we go through with these issues, saying, okay, here's a little spot where we can go. If you don't agree with these people on this website, you know, there's people in here that did not agree, then come and participate, because debate is going to lead to better information for everybody.
I just want to encourage people to do something. You know, one of the things that we're looking at with Hackers for Charity is I don't care if you have altruistic feelings. I don't care if you necessarily care about kids in Africa. I don't care if you care about charity. If you come to Hackers for Charity, you can get a job. You can get a resume. You can get industry-leading experts vouching for you on your resume, and you can get LinkedIn connections. If that's the only reason you come, that's fine. Just come. Volunteer a little bit of your time or your skill. It doesn't matter necessarily what your motives are, but it matters that you get involved, whether it's big picture, small picture. And the same with the Hacker Foundation. I mean, Hacker Foundation is sort of we've partnered with them in the past. They're working on these bigger issues, whether it's things like, the open source voting machines. Hacker Foundation is looking at these bigger issues, wrapping 501c3 tax shelters around things like Metasploit. So that's one outlet. We're more on the